Hey everybody, another page map for you from the February 2016 page maps. This is going to be a very concentrated layout. You're probably thinking, why didn't I do this on a 12 by 12? I don't know. I usually scrap 8.5 by 11. It's very rare that I do a 12 by 12 layout. So anyway, I'm using the Hello Love line again tonight. And I used that ombre paper as the background, and I mounted it on a heavy white card, and now I'm just getting some little 2 1/4 by 2 1/4 squares cut out of various pattern papers. I like this layout because it let me use a lot of the patterns. This is a reunion layout, just has a lot of pictures of family members. We went and had dinner. That's about it. So I'm just seeing if it's actually going to fit on this small of a layout, and I'm happy to say that it does, at least in my mind. There isn't a lot of white space on this piece, but then I've never been that big on white space anyway. So I'm checking for fit here, just getting an idea of what the layout's supposed to look like when it's done. And I realized I had to have one extra photo than the map called for, so it's going to be a little concentrated on photos, but that's okay. I accept it. It bothers me for about 10 seconds, and then I go, that's the way it's going to look. Okay. And I'm just checking to see if I can get that middle strip to be wide enough to get the title on it like it's supposed to. Then I decide to distress with black soot, just lightly distress the edges of all the paper with black soot. I just wanted that little touch of black. I really felt like it would help the layout and keep the pieces organized. A lot of these papers are very light, and then you put it on that light ombre background, and you don't see a lot of differentiation. But I was happy to use this ombre as a background and be able to really fully see the ombre effect of it. So I take this little heart paper and I'm edging it in black soot. And it's just the narrowest little border. It hardly, just the very edges. But I think it helps to define. And then I get my ruler out so that I can make sure that I get that exactly where it's supposed to be, because in a layout this tight, it needs to be exact. So I'm going to mark it so that I know precisely where I want that strip to be. Because there is no extra room for error on this layout. It's tight, but that's okay. I kind of like it this way. So then I put down my strip down the middle. And I'm edging and gluing. And I know how much distance I need. I'm going to just put down a few of them just to make certain I know. And it's basically about 1/8 of an inch is what I have to put between those in order to leave enough room for the title bar to fit. And that's all I'm doing there, is making sure I know exactly how much distance to leave between the photos. And from then I just put these down. Commitment. Here we are, only 4 minutes into the layout, and I'm gluing it down. Well, not really 4 minutes, but 4 minutes in your time, which is pretty good, I would say, because I typically, like the last layout, I moved them around for like 10 minutes before I glued them down. So this was good. Get them down. And I chose some of my favorite papers out of this collection. I love that polka dot in the top left-hand corner. I know a lot of people haven't really liked the marble paper, but that's why I bought this collection. It reminded me when I was in college and I was doing bookbinding, and we learned about traditional marbled paper, and we made some in the bookbinding class, and oh, it was so much fun. And I just learned so much about the traditional art of bookbinding from that class. And so that's what that marble paper reminds me of, is my time in college. And so it's actually a huge reason why I bought this collection. Even though there were other papers I liked, I would have probably almost bought this collection just for the marble paper because I love it that much. Which is funny because I think a lot of people think it's ugly, but I just, oh, love it, love it. So the last piece to go down. These are Club Scrap Letters, another sticker sheet that will take me, you know, like 6 layouts to use up because there's, look at how many A's there are on that one sheet, like 10 A's. They know how to make a sticker sheet last. So it's kind of like on a book paper background, and I don't know, I just kind of liked it. And so let's use them. Use them or lose them. That's one of my goals right now. I need to get my craft room to where it's reasonable. So I'm going to put this on black paper. And I don't know exactly how wide or how long the strip's going to be, so I give myself extra room. All right, so now I am going to trim out this section. And start to figure out how narrow does it need to be in order to fit and still allow some of that pattern paper to show. And where am I going to position it? I get this idea that there's this stamp that I got at the Target Dollar Spot, or sorry, it wasn't Target Dollar Spot. It was the Valentine's section at Michael's. And I want to, and it just says love and it's in a circle, so I want to emboss it. And this embossing powder, I believe it's Recollections, but it's based on, you know, the Stampendous Frantage, I think is what it's called, where it's a bunch of mixed colors, and this was Antique Rose. So it's got gold, and it's got white, a little bit of white, a little bit of dark, like black, and then also rose. And, oh, it's gold and like silver, but they're sort of antiqued gold and silver, not too super shiny. Anyway, really pretty embossing powder. And so once I use that, I'm like, ooh, I'm going to run with it. And I get out some solid stamps. That's a Stampin' Up! Stamp from probably 10 years ago. I actually think it might have been a Celebration stamp. We are in Celebration, right? I haven't bought anything this month, or this year for Celebration. But anyway, there it is. And I stamp out 5 of those, and then I heat emboss them, and I fussy cut. And I had to heat emboss off the screen because that kind of chunky embossing powder, you have to emboss from the underneath. Otherwise, you'll blow away all the big chunks, and then it'll be patchy and not nice. So it's kind of takes a little bit of extra technique, but I just love it. It's really pretty, really. It's got a beautiful mixed coloring. Love it. So now I'm arranging my flowers and figuring out where I want them. And I bring out this metallic black paper. I had backed the love circle in it, and I just decided I wanted to put some of that in other places. So I put it there, sort of as a base for those 3 circles to sit around. And then I think I want one over here. But then when I actually place it there, I don't like that it competes with the circle above it. So I trim it back and just have it rest right on the edge of the photo. And it's subtle, but it definitely shows up on the layout and looks pretty neat that way. So then I'm gluing down my flower. This layout actually, it took me about an hour, but to me it just went together so quickly with very little fight. It didn't fight me at all. These are some old rub-ons from Michael's Dollar Spot. I mean, they don't even really sell this kind of flourishy stuff anymore, which I miss. I love this kind of stuff. Anyway, I had never used them, and so I'm using them. And I'm going to rub this circle frame thing, and it's so pretty. I love, love, love it. This is the kind of thing I really enjoy. This sort of vintage frame, steampunk, Victorian, medieval, all that stuff. So I trim it out. I'm going to put it there, and I want a little band of that pretty metallic black paper underneath of it. Just a little, like it's a belt buckle or something, I don't know. Seemed to go with the stripes. And I glue it down, and then I put my circle on it. And then I decide I'm going to take one of the square frames and cut it in half and make it like a corner. Just a little photo corner, so to speak, up in that top corner square. It makes that corner feel a little more finished. And then, you won't believe it, I actually go into my stash of little metal bits. I finally have enough that I feel like I can use them. Not just hoard them. Look at how many I have. It's insane. I'm never going to be able to use all that up. But I won't, because I love it too much. So I find this coin, old antique coin charm, and I put that in the center because I didn't really have a button I wanted it. Yes, I used a brad. Look at all this old stuff I'm pulling out. Serious stash dive. I'm so happy about that. So I'm getting there. Layout's almost done. And then I pull out a bit of vellum, and it's really pretty vellum. It's just a white vellum, but it has little tiny flecks of glitter in it. It's an old club scrap, and it's a tiny little piece of paper, scrap piece. Like, you saw that. It was like 2.5 by 3, and I kept it because I love that little scrap of paper so much. So I kept it, and I pulled it out of my scrap box, and I'm laying it on my grid ruler so I can see the lines through so that I can write my journaling on it. And it's so neat because you're gonna be able to see that pattern paper through it, but it still looks great. This was inspiration. And I'm going to staple it down so that it won't show. So that it won't show the glue. And you got it! I still have bling flourishes. How many of you have that in your stash? I have a ton of these. I hoarded them and hoarded them and hoarded them. And you can't even buy them anymore because they're out of style. And I'm so going to use it because I love them. I love them. But I'm going to use them now. I'm going to stop hoarding them and actually use them on a layout. You guys don't know what a big move this is for me. I mean, I've only got like 10 packages left. I could run out someday. Anyway, there's my bling flourishes. And I'm sure there's somebody out there in the world who's going, oh my gosh, you crazy lady using that ancient stuff on your layout. Oh yeah, I love that. I love bling flourishes. I have hoarded them with a great deal of affection for years. So there it is. And then I get out some just regular gems to put in the center. And by the way, I will never destash my gems. I will never destash my bling. I love it. I know people aren't using it anymore. I decided I want something up in the left-hand corner, and I find this stamp that says, "Love is all we need." It's a Unity stamp, and I stamp it in VersaFine. And that really is the end of the layout. Look at those beautiful flowers. Look at that antique rose embossing pattern. And the little frame with the coin, and my beautiful bling, and the vellum. What a fun layout. Have a good day.